This edition of AWN Presents will be devoted entirely to the Black Heritage Museum.
I'm Scott Taylor, Director and President of the Black Heritage Museum of Arlington. We're on 345B Columbia Pike. We're open Thursdays and Saturdays, Thursdays 3 to 6 and Saturdays 2 to 5.
How did the museum get started?
This museum started in 1995. It was founded by Evelyn Syphax, and I have her pen here. She was also the first black president of the Arlington Historical Society, and she decided that to start this museum so we could just talk about this side of Arlington and this history. And the history is rich, and I guarantee you if you come, you're going to learn some things that you never did know about Arlington.
Please tell us about what's here.
Right, well, we have Freedmen's Village. We're going to talk about some things about the Arlington House. We actually have a display of Freedmen's Village, and there's some people that lived in Arlington that are famous folklore heroes that you may not have known. We're talking a little bit about the Lunch Counter sit-ins. We have a superstar singer, Grammy Award-winning singer that we talk about, and of course a gentleman that invented blood plasma. And all of these were Arlingtonians at one time or the other.
Tell us about the Hoffman Boston School.
Hoffman Boston School. Hoffman Boston School was a school that was, for black people, the only high school. It was in the Johnson Hill area. So Hoffman Boston was built in 1916 by a guy named Noble Thomas. It lasted till about 1964. That was the last class, and we actually have some yearbooks from that time. If you want to come down and look at them. When the schools got integrated, then students went to the other high schools.
What about Dr. Charles Drew?
Yeah, Charles Drew. I'm not sure what year he came here. He wasn't born here, but he did live here, and he is the father of the blood bank. His home is still here in Arlington. He, of course, died in a car accident. And then there's Drew Elementary School that was named after him. But we're also very, very proud that he was one time an Arlington resident here.
Have you met any of the people featured here?
Oh my gosh. Aside from Joan Mulholland, I'm friends with Joan. I've met all the first 4 kids that went to Stratford. They lived in my neighborhood. There are some people, and this is something that is really, really dear to me, because when I got these pictures, I collect them, I saw this picture here. This is my mom right here. This is my mom in the 10th grade. And so I know her very well. I knew Mrs. Ham. Mrs. Ham, I went to school with her daughter. Let's see, who else did I know? Can't go back to George Washington days, can we? There's a gentleman here who was the very first, his name was Alfred Clark, who was the very first fire chief in Arlington. I knew him very, very well. He lived right behind me. Langston Center has a area we call Langston Brown, where Lil Brown, I knew Lil Brown very well. So yeah, I knew a lot of these people. Come to think about it, I knew a lot of them, yeah.
Your displays begin with George Washington.
Well, you know, George Washington, father of our country, our very first president, he got slaves. I think he got 13, if I'm not, I think so, when he was like a very small child when his dad died. The real ironic thing about Washington is that he spoke out against slavery, although he did have slaves. But we have to keep in mind that it was legal. I guess he, you know, showed that he was a person because he did acknowledge marriages. There was a slave an enslaved person named William Lee, whom he was very, very close with. And I would tell anybody, please go down to Mount Vernon and take the tour there. You see the buildings that are there and the architecture. These were made and designed by the enslaved people that were there.
Some say that Thomas Jefferson couldn't afford to free his slaves.
Washington was the direct opposite. He was very frugal and very good with money. And he actually, so that's another reason why he may have been outspoken about slavery, because he had a surplus of enslaved people. And you had to you had to always think about the fact that you had to, if these people need medical care or whatever, food, whatever, you had to supply it. And he was very cheap. So what he did do was he loaned out some of the people, and that's why when you do census and do genealogy, it's kind of hard to find slaves, because some were loaned out, and a lot of enslaved people did not use their master's last names, they used their own. So we see people sometimes with just one name or just different names, so it's hard to connect people.
I noticed a certain picture in the Hoffman Boston exhibit.
This is a graduation picture, and this here is Roberta Flack, and this lady here is one of my cousins, but Dr. Alfred Taylor, I don't know if you know Dr. Taylor. He's a historian here in Arlington. He's, I think he's 89 years old. He was able to identify a lot of these people, so I have to have him back so I can write down the names.
Let's take a look at the St. John's Church exhibit.
Okay, so St. John's Church, which is on Columbia Pike, was established in 1903 and built in 1908. It really, at the time, was a church that was for a lot of people from Queen City. And these children here were basically living in Queen City, and they would go to St. John's Church for school. Arlington had rented a room in St. John's Church for colored children, it's what they called them, black children, to go to school there. So the school ran from, I think, 1910 to 1913. And I was given this picture of some of the kids that went there. This is the early 1900s here. I guess other school, the Kemper Road School came. I don't know what year that was, but one of the reasons why they just rented it out for that